Breaker by Rosie013. Omar was a broken man. He had lived his entire life as an unwanted outcast, to be shunned and feared by everyone who lived in these lands. His family had abandoned him at a young age. No one would accept his willing labor for coin or bread. He had no friends to share his burden with. Even the other beggars and cripples that loitered just inside the city gates stayed away from him, unwilling to do anything other than pity and fear him. Pity. From cripples. He could be no lower in life. All because of his damn curse. Omar was cursed with breaking. When he was just a toddler, his mother had taken him with her to see a witch about some ailment that was common at that time, and in the close confines of the little hut, young Omar had accidentally brushed up against and knocked over some precious glass vials. The witch had become furious, demanding that they pay for the damage. Omar's mother couldn't afford to. The family had barely enough saved and borrowed for her ailment, let alone the 7 silver the witch demanded. Enraged, she cursed Omar that day with a breaking. Anything he touched would come undone, just as little Omar had undone to her property. It started slowly at first. His clothes would wear down just that little bit faster. He seemed just a little more clumsy, breaking food bowls and anything else he was tasked to carry. Soon, the locals in the town noticed the boy's apparent mistreatment of things, and regularly beat him for things that were not his fault, but the curses. Apparently, unable to learn to treat things with respect, his reputation got out of hand and people started to shun him. His family kicked him out, unable to survive the wrath of their fellow villagers any longer. No one would employ him, even when he traveled ahead of his reputation. Wagons he worked with would collapse, spears he was assigned to use on guard duty rusted, and pickaxes would break in his grip. The list went on, only getting worse as time went by. Eventually, after a few years of wandering, Omar found himself in the shadow of a great city, living off discarded and spoiled foods even the other beggars wouldn't touch. There, he learned his worsening curse of breaking did have some upsides. The city guards would beat the beggars to pay the fee for being allowed to beg inside the city walls, usually every coin they had. They beat Omar too, as he had not been able to cling to a single coin without it tarnishing beyond recognition for some time now. But as clubs splintered and fists fractured, they quickly learned not to lay a finger on Omar. Then one day, everything changed. No, he didn't get his curse of breaking lifted. Not that it was possible. That old witch had died long before Omar could seek her out. He decided to steal and experience a full belly for the first time in his miserable life. The city guards would probably kill him for such a severe transgression, but at this point, Omar plain didn't care anymore. Everything was going fine, and the loaf of bread was almost his, when the merchant boomed out, "Thief!" Omar had ran for all he was worth, and eventually found himself trapped by guards in a location he didn't recognize. In the brief scuffle that followed, Omar tried to pull one of the guards off of him when his hand slipped and backhanded a wall, collapsing it. The 20-foot tall, 7-foot thick city perimeter wall. When the dust had settled, everyone was silent, just staring at the impossible feat. Eventually, the guard captain told Omar to come with him and not to resist any further. Equally stunned as anyone else, he did as he was told, the nervous guards following along behind him at spear length. Once the local lord had heard of the story firsthand from the captain and Omar himself, he did something that Omar hadn't experienced in a long while. The canny lord offered him employment, along with any charges leveled against him dropped. A man who could batter down walls with his bare hands was useful beyond words, and would be an undeniable asset to a city-state's military strength. Over time, the curse continued to get worse, and Omar continued to get better. He fought in a few wars as a one-man battering ram, and quickly gained renown and respect wherever he went. He couldn't handle his own payment, but that's what servants were for. He remained a humble man, despite his newfound success, for seats would not carry him, and the only bed he could know was the floor. He walked as naked as the day he was born, for clothing could no longer hold itself together at his touch. As he began to grow old, Omar didn't even need shield bearers in battle, for his curse had grown so great that arrows would split or shatter on impact with his bare skin. Their very core of what they were unraveled at the lightest contact with the incredible strength of the curse. Omar was not the broken man he once was, but he retained the name that his lord had jokingly bestowed upon him in his very first battle: Omar the Breaker.